You are listening to the Health and Wellness Connection podcast, the #1 wellness podcast designed to provide the latest information to help you achieve your health and wellness goals. Our show features exciting guests, the latest in medical research, and in-depth discussions in current trends on weight loss, nutrition, and fitness. No matter what your interest, the Health and Wellness podcast has you covered. And now, presenting your illustrious host, Dr. Barry, MD.
Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Health and Wellness Connection. This is your host, Dr. Barry. I want to thank you for joining us for a holiday episode of the show. Now, first and foremost, just want to say thanks for all the listeners, all the support. Appreciate you guys. We're going to definitely keep this show rolling. We have a lot of new content, new stories, just new flavors to present to you guys, and I hope you guys will stick around and let's do it. And again, of course, for those who don't know, this is a show based on health and wellness. We focus on the latest health and wellness trends, new research, and just all the different things you should know to help increase your overall health and wellness, including diet, exercise, travel, medicines, just everything that relates to health and wellness. We've been doing the show for a while now. We want to keep the vibes going. Now, before we start, obviously, I want to let you know first off that my whole kind of situation. My name is Dr. Barry. I'm a board certified emergency medicine physician, as well as a health and wellness physician, focusing on weight loss, lifestyle medicine, and just overall helping people increase their level of wellness, reducing their stress, and just kind of learning to, roll with the punches of life and maintaining good health while doing so. So if you want to contact me or if you have a request for the show, please reach out to us at our email, drbarryhealth@gmail.com. That's Dr. DRBARRYHEALTH@gmail.com. Also, do want to take this time as well to announce a new product. We've been working on a lot of things behind the scenes. We have a great new product that we actually have already launched, known as Dr. B's Body Butter. These are made actually from sourced materials directly from West Africa, including Nigeria and Burkina Faso and the likes. We have a lot of great contacts, on the continent, and so we use those to help us kind of find quality products to bring to you guys. We've done that with this product called Dr. B's Body Butter. Extremely great during the cold season to help keep your skin moisturized. Extremely nourishing, extremely natural, no fillers or artificial chemicals. Now, if you listen to this show, we discussed some of the things that can be found in a lot of these lotions and creams that are sold on the counter. A lot of those things are very dangerous. A lot of them are found to be pro-inflammatory, also have been found to be pro-carcinogenic, meaning they can cause cancer. So it's very dangerous, guys, to be putting random chemicals, especially those with parabens and different artificial agents. But this stuff we're creating here called, again, Dr. B's Body Butter uses all natural ingredients, organic, and extremely, extremely nourishing and healthy for the skin. If you're interested in purchasing your own jar of this lovely concoction we've created, check us out on our website, www.naturally.africa. Again, that's www.naturally.africa. At that URL, you can order the product. It can be shipped to your home in 3 to 5 shipping days all throughout the United States and Canada. We will be offering international shipping as well. I know I have a lot of listeners overseas, so we can definitely, we're making arrangements to make sure we get those to you guys at reasonable rates. And again, guys, you will not be disappointed. This Dr. B's Body Butter is some of the best things that I think we've been able to create, and you'll definitely enjoy it. There's also a Black Friday sale. Try to get it before December the 7th and save 10% with discount code Black Friday, BLKFRIDAY. All right, guys, so let's move on now. So, of course, let's get back to the meat and potatoes of the show, which is, again, the news. We talk about all the latest research we come across regarding health and wellness, and we have some big topics to discuss. We've been off for a while, so I know we missed a lot of kind of important stuff, but we're going to definitely discuss some of the more trending topics that were really big, especially during the hiatus. First things first, let's talk about this new flu strain. There's a new flu strain that's really doing numbers out here. Like I said, I work as an emergency medicine physician, so I have seen a huge uptick of flu this past few months, guys. Flu is really becoming the big deal this year. Flu and also strep, but flu especially. Flu A and B have been making a new rampage. There's a new strain out here that's apparently causing a spike in flu rates all over the country. Now, some people are saying that in certain areas there's definitely more activity than others. New research shows that the UK, there's a significant increase in flu rates there. And there's a new strain called the H3N2 strain that has mutated quite a bit over the summer that's leading to more people being infected, more people getting sick. I know where I work a lot of different states in the country, especially Texas, especially Mississippi. And Mississippi is one of those states as well that's having a pretty significant flu strain, flu resurgence, meaning that most of the patients we see with upper respiratory symptoms tend to be positive for the flu. So, of course, with all these new trends, there's always concern about potentially dangerous flu strains coming out of this new milieu of flu strains that are out here. And so we're going to be watching very closely, guys. But again, if you are out here and you see people coughing and sneezing, please be sure to try to protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly. If you are sick, consider wearing a mask to help reduce the spread of the virus, especially if you're sneezing, coughing, or just stay indoors. That's always the best thing I tell patients. If you do have the flu, stay indoors. Try to avoid contact with others until you feel better. Also, be drinking a lot of fluids, taking your vitamins, especially vitamin C. Those are all helpful for helping boost the immune system. And last but not least, guys, just make sure you see your providers, your doctors, your nurse practitioners, whoever you're seeing for regular medical care to ensure that they're monitoring your symptoms. And if you are having significant symptoms with the flu, there are some very potent antivirals that can be very effective in helping reduce symptoms, especially Tamiflu for the flu. And you have also Paxlovid for COVID. So do your best to take care of yourselves. And if you do get sick, please make an appointment to see your providers and make sure you practice good hygiene to prevent unnecessary spread. All right, guys, let's talk about another story that's really big out here that we kind of, it actually happened during this previous shutdown that was going on early November, where the politicians couldn't decide on how to fund the next budget. And so, of course, the people have to suffer, meaning people did not have access to government resources. Airplanes and airports were shut down or partially shut down due to lack of government staff. It is overall a miserable time for the typical American. However, they finally came to an agreement over this budget discussion. And for somehow, in some way, cannabis got affected, which is why, ultimately, can't trust politicians, man. They're always up to no good, unfortunately. Now, I'm not going to say all. Some are definitely doing, what they should be doing. But, of course, you got a lot of people with different agendas and motives. So that comes into this next story regarding the hemp industry. Apparently now, because of the government shutdown, a bill, inclusion was placed inside this funding bill that has now threatened the cannabis industry in America. Now, if you've listened to this show regularly, we've discussed the benefits of cannabis therapy and how patients are finding many great benefits in using cannabis-related products to help treat chronic illness, and as well as seizures, back pain, muscle strain, stress, and the like. There's a lot of states now who have legalized cannabis and have now made it available for patients and clinicians who feel that it is a good fit for them. However, there's some people who are upset with this, unfortunately, and despite the industry growing to what's believed to be about $28 billion in America currently, that they're, upset with some of the effects of the cannabis legalization wave across the United States, and now they're trying to push to have it be banned. It's believed that if this actually ban takes place fully, it could lead to the loss of over 300,000 jobs, which would be unfortunate because the American economy is already struggling as it is, and removing kind of growth spots in the country due to personal issues and other non-economic reasons is problematic in my book. Now, of course, the medical cannabis industry is still growing, and many states have actually passed legislation that allows patients to get medical cannabis from authorized grows. And, overall, this, I think, has been a great boon to a lot of the medical care industries in various states. I've seen it in multiple states personally, and I've known patients who have done exceptionally well when switching to cannabis treatment for certain ailments. However, some people believe that, the dangers outweigh the benefits, which I vehemently disagree with. I think there's many more benefits that we have seen from this cannabis legalization, but there are definitely some negatives, which we'll discuss shortly. But the thing is that I think more care needs to be done to try to salvage some of the benefits of this whole cannabis medical kind of industry, as well as reducing some of the risks and the negative and the bad actors that exist, if you will. So let's talk about the details briefly. The new law will state that no cannabis product can have more than 0.3% of delta or cannabis cannabinoid. So before, there was a loophole where if you were making a variation of the delta 9, like a delta 8 or some other type of cannabinoid, those would be allowed federally, legally, because they could be derived from hemp, which is apparently federally legal. Now, with this new loophole being closed, all products, including delta 8, delta 9 products, will be completely banned. And the only way to get cannabis will be if you live in a state that has a medical cannabis program that you can participate in, and that will allow you to get your cannabis via the regulations in that medical cannabis program. So that being said, this is obviously a big blow to many people who are making delta 8, delta 9 products, because those are legally able to be sold nationwide. You have a lot of companies that did, use that to make products and have grown pretty large companies as a result. So obviously them banning delta 8, delta 9, throughout this country was going to be very deleterious, or it could basically have a very harmful impact on their company. And clearly many people are upset and frustrated. And this has led to many new lobbyists coming out and kind of pointing out some of the corruption on Capitol Hill, because it's believed that many other industries that are not worried about health, more worried about their pocketbooks, specifically the alcohol industry, is one of the biggest proponents behind getting these politicians to push for this ban on hemp due to the negative effects being seen in other industries. And we can actually point to the example of that on our next story. And that's the whole concept of being California sober. It's a new viable strategy to curb alcohol use. And people know that there's something's not being really stressed enough. This whole cannabis hemp issue is the negative effect on alcohol sales. It's believed that Gen Z, the current young people growing up, have some of the lowest uses of alcohol in history. Alcohol, has been a cultural staple in American life. People have been drinking alcohol forever since country was created. So industries have been created as a result of this alcohol use. And now alcohol is apparently falling out of favor. We hear the constant stories of bars and clubs shutting down, how, people who used to consume alcohol are now drinking less and instead using cannabis or other intoxicants to, get whatever effect they're trying to achieve. And people are also not drinking as much alcohol due to the known negative toxic effects on the human body. We've discussed this repeatedly. Alcohol is a pure poison. It really has no beneficial effect whatsoever on the body. It's known to cause all sorts of illnesses, cancer, heart disease, all kinds of ailments. And of course, in high levels, it can cause severe damage, including liver failure and other things. So we in the medical community know that alcohol is bad. However, your body is able to handle it due to the organ known as the liver. The liver is a workhorse helping to detoxify toxins in your system, including alcohol. So when moderate use, alcohol can be considered relatively safe because your liver can handle the toxins and detoxify them so that your body won't be negatively affected. Now, if you don't have a liver, obviously alcohol can be extremely dangerous. And in general, alcohol does destroy the liver slowly, so you don't want to overdo it to potentially take out your liver. This is why, it's always been a concern about moderation, and some doctors and other clinicians recommend just completely stopping alcohol just due to those effects. Now, of course, our law states that alcohol is legal, so people can do what they like, even if it could be harmful. That being said, it's very important to use moderation and some sort of consideration when consuming alcohol. But as a result of this kind of negative wave toward alcohol and the alcohol trends kind of heading in the southern direction, there's believed that this is part of the reason why there's been a big push and a big lobbying effort done by the alcohol industry to push against the legalization of cannabis due to the negative effect on their business. Now, again, this term California sober that we discussed earlier was, popularized after singer Demi Lovato used it in a song and a documentary. And it kind of talks about how people are using cannabis to help reduce their alcohol consumption, which can overall, help them reduce their alcohol addiction. And we know that cannabis users have a decreased demand for alcohol based on some recent studies that have been conducted lately. One study actually looked at 157 adults who reported heavy drinking and used cannabis at least twice a week, right? So they found these people and they randomized them to double-blind crossover design, meaning they had people in three different groups. One had a 7.2% THC consumption, meaning their joints or whatever, or the THC they were using was 7.2% THC. Another group had 3.1% THC, and another group had a placebo dose of 0.03% THC. Right, so one group had a little bit of a higher level THC product, and another group had a lower level THC product. And basically, they used these groups and they gave them the products. Then they looked at them and asked them about their desire to drink alcohol after smoking. And what they found was very obvious. Those who smoked the 7.2% THC products did not want as much alcohol. Actually, a 27% reduction in their alcohol requests compared to the other groups who smoked the lower amounts of THC products. So obviously, if you're smoking a higher percentage THC product, most people are not going to want to drink heavily as well because of the additive effects of sedation and so forth. So people are actually, this is something that most people who smoke and drink know, but the science definitely is confirming this, and this is probably what's leading to the decreased demand for alcohol in general. Most states have legalized cannabis, have found that people who are smoking cannabis are less likely to drink a lot of alcohol. And you would think that's a good thing because we know alcohol can be dangerous to health, but unfortunately it's bad for business. Hence is why we have these laws being pushed to ensure that alcohol is heavily consumed. So just know that, guys, the law is not focused on your health. The law is focused on the money. The law is focused on helping businesses that support or fund the law, or the lawmakers, aka the politicians. Not necessarily about your health. So don't use legal reasons to make healthy decisions. Now, I'm not saying that you should be smoking or drinking, but if you're someone who, let's say you had addiction to alcohol, and maybe you switched over to CBD or cannabis, now you feel yourself reducing that alcohol consumption, that's obviously a good thing. Don't allow the law to make you go back to alcohol if you know that you were, in a deadly situation. Now, obviously, you should stop everything if you can, but if you're going to do something, I think you can definitely argue CBD is far safer to use than alcohol for stress relief or whatever. So that's kind of the main takeaway there. So we're going to keep following this, obviously, about the hemp law. There's a year apparently it's going to be put on this. So next year, November 2026 is when the law will take effect. So the millions and billions of dollars being generated currently is going to have to be, they have to determine what's going on. Those people who live in states, though, that have a medical program definitely should get officially registered with the state program so you can be able to use THC products legally without any fear of issues or legal ramifications. So yeah, it's got a lot of things going on, guys. So just be careful if you're a CBD user or a cannabis user, because this could definitely affect your access to products in the future. All right, moving on. So Trump has now come out with a new statement saying he wants Americans to make more babies. He wants to be known as the fertilization president, meaning he wants people to know that he was the one that pushed to increase the population. However, many people are saying that he's kind of a hypocrite. Why? Because he's actually at the same time banning or reducing access to programs that are designed to help with families and reproduction, specifically when it comes to reproductive centers or women's health care centers that were one of the backbones of healthcare in the community. Now, of course, this is specifically related to the Planned Parenthood saga because, again, these same centers also are known to allow for women's abortion access and things like that, which is actually still healthcare despite whatever moral grandstanding you may have. Women definitely need access to healthcare, including abortion, because a lot of times abortion can be very dangerous or very deadly if done in an unsophisticated manner. And of course, there's a huge moral argument behind it, but there's also many pure medical reasons where abortions are necessary to save the life of the mother. So I think people who are kind of getting into the spiritual aspect of it are kind of missing the point, in the sense that healthcare is something that everyone needs access to. And if we're not providing it, there's going to be a lot of negative ramifications from it, which, we don't want to see. Now, that being said, the main concern here is the reduced funding for Medicaid clinics or Medicaid funding for various care centers. This has caused many of them to close. Almost 50 clinics around the country have closed due to lack of funding. I think this is a negative, overall net negative for women's health. And it could be problematic if you're wanting people to have children, but at the same time, you're reducing access to clinics that provide care for women who are pregnant, who are nursing, who have young children. That's going to be a problem if you want to increase the population. So I think the Department of Health and Human Services needs to get its kind of act together and figure out, what they're going to do. Are they going to do a science-based kind of policy, or are they going to do some sort of, weird, moral / conspiracy theory-based policy strategy? Because I think it's showing a little bit of confusion here. Now, the problem is that the reason why Trump did this whole fertilization push, because the national birth rate has been on a downward trend since 2007, about 2% a year decrease every year, especially from 2015 to 2020. And so this is definitely a concern, especially for those who are worried about, the population numbers and where we're headed in the right direction or the wrong direction. Now, of course, during our current trends, people want to be single. There's decreased push for marriage, decreased push for families for various reasons. And it's a multifactorial thing. And I think that to reduce this, you need to focus on, encourage people to become more family oriented, getting married, things like that. And I think, making sure there's services available for them will be a big plus for that. And so that's why I'm kind of confused as far as the direction the administration is taking in regards to this story. So we're going to keep following this as well. But I think that if the administration here, the Trump administration, wants to encourage families, they got to encourage funding for institutions that help the family structure grow and thrive, and that's including Planned Parenthood and other family-oriented health clinics and so forth. All right, guys, new study here came out saying that high density lipoprotein, known as HDL cholesterol, were associated with increased risk of long-term new onset fractures in men, but not in women, ironically. This is kind of an interesting study because it came out recently out of Sweden. 18,240 people were looked at. Average age was 69 years, so definitely older population, which is actually when fractures are important, because if you break your hip, in your 70s, it can be devastating. You can lose your life very easily due to chronic infection, difficult surgeries. It's a very bad thing. So, how we can reduce fractures in the elderly is a big kind of concept. And so this study looked at HDL cholesterol levels, and they found that those who had higher levels of HDL cholesterol were found to have increased risk for fractures. And they found that, in the people who had these high HDL fractures, those who had 1 millimoles per liter increase in HDL cholesterol had an associated increase of 12% for total incident fractures. Now, you could argue that those who have high HDLs were likely obese, which led to them having increased risk for falls and injuring themselves. That could be related, and they didn't actually figure out the exact correlation there. But I think definitely bone health and HDL levels, may be the link here. And it's possible that if you have a higher HDL levels, it could potentially reduce the quality of bones being created. And, it's definitely concerning because, if you're, especially in men, by the way, this is what it was found in men, mainly, not women. So it was definitely, I think, something that needs to be further researched because, again, fractures in the elderly is a big problem. And so I think if HDL is a link there, ensuring that those HDL levels are not, out of control can help prevent a lot of illness because fractures, again, can be devastating. All right, now, next study that I saw, I really like this one here, shows that regular coffee drinking can protect and restore liver health. All right, so this study was interesting because they looked at just kind of what we call a narrative review, and they looked at different epidemiological kind of studies regarding certain illnesses, particularly liver illnesses like viral hepatitis, alcoholic liver disease, metabolic dysfunction associated steatotic or fatty liver disease. I'm not go through all these extremely complex illnesses here, but overall, most liver illnesses, when they looked at how people manage them as far as these specific illnesses, they found that coffee was very effective in helping reducing some of the damage and also helping promote more liver health as far as helping cells heal and return to normal function. And what they found was that regular coffee consumption was associated with lower levels of even virus loads and viral hepatitis. They found that cirrhotics were seeing improved levels of liver functionality. They also found decreased levels of fibrosis in the liver. They felt that some of the bioactive compounds in coffee, like caffeine, the chlorogenic acids, some of the other antioxidants and so forth, and the polyphenols, these were helpful in reducing the damage that was being done to the liver in these various illnesses. So, it's very important because we all know that caffeine in coffee has a high level of antioxidant enzymes. These are very effective for helping reduce cancer risk and just reducing toxicity and inflammation in the body. Specifically, superoxide dismutase, catalase, glutathione, peroxidase. These are big antioxidants in coffee, and these things have been known or shown to help with liver health and reducing damage to the liver. And so this is why, coffee can be very effective in helping reduce a lot of the issues that we see that can lead to many illnesses, specifically cancer, liver disease, and the like. So, this is I think, great thing, because coffee is something that's very cheap, very highly available. And if patients who have known liver disease can be using coffee to help reduce symptoms and even try to heal some of their issues with their illness, I think this is a great thing, and something that makes all the sense in the world. So hopefully more actual concrete data will come out, and they are showing kind of direct, correlation of coffee usage and reduced liver injury. I think that could be a great thing. So we'll be looking closely for this, and hopefully there'll be more, concrete data that comes out showing this beneficial association. All right, guys, there's been a lot of studies on GLP-1 and a lot of the different benefits and so forth that have been seen with these therapies. And I want to talk about a few of them. Now, one of the first things I noticed when GLP-1 debate has been out here, and that there has been some new data showing that there is a significant amount of muscle loss in patients using these GLP-1 medications. So let's talk about it, because muscle loss is one of the biggest issues that people have been complaining about, and it's showing that there's definitely something to be concerned about, but there are ways around it apparently if it's done correctly. This is why it's not good to be using GLP-1s on your own. You need to be working with a nutritionist, with a doctor, a weight loss doctor, somebody who can tell you the ways to help maintain or minimize some of the bad effects of these drugs. Now, that being said, these drugs are also doing great things as well. There's some new studies showing some pretty impressive behavioral changes we're seeing in patients who do use these GLP-1 drugs. Now, of course, we mean these drugs that are designed to help reduce cravings as well as reduce appetite. The popular one that was big, that's still big, is going to be Wegovy / Ozempic. But there's some new ones on the market now that are also determined to be also very effective, including Mounjaro, which is tirzepatide. And they're seeing that if these are used improperly, you can definitely have a lot more muscle mass, and you also can have a lot more rapid weight regain as well. So let's talk about it. So the good thing is that people who use these drugs, they've been found to have as much weight reduction, almost 24% of weight reduction, compared to those who don't use the drug. This is a general kind of number they're seeing for patients who were on these GLP-1 inhibitor drugs for about a year. Now, what they're also seeing is that those who do lose weight on this drug, almost 25% of the weight loss will be muscle mass loss. So people are losing a lot of lean body mass, which definitely is good for weight loss, but it's bad for overall health, because we know that muscle mass is important for metabolism purposes, for strength, and allowing you to be a stronger, more functional human being. So what we're seeing is that if you're not, being careful with your diet when you're on these GLP-1 drugs, you can definitely lose a lot of weight, but you also lose a lot of muscle, which is bad in general for your heart or for your general health overall. Now, that being said, how do we reduce this? How do we prevent this risk? Well, the key is eating large amounts of protein and fiber. Because one thing also that GLP-1 drugs do is that they slow down your GI tract. So constipation, bloating, gas is a big issue here. Reflux, all those things happen as a result of your bowels slowing down. So if you're not eating enough fiber, things will not be moving smoothly throughout your intestines. And that can result in some issues too, which can also cause people to stop using the drug prematurely. So how do we know this? Well, there were two trials that were performed. One was a step 1 trial, which looked at semaglutide, and another one was the SURMOUNT-1 trial, was another study looking at tirzepatide. And what they found was that people who took these drugs, first off semaglutide, 45% lean body mass reduction. So out of all the weight that was lost, half of it was almost muscle mass. So you don't want that. I mean, it's overall good to lose the weight, but you don't want to lose too much muscle, because that can also, again, affect your long-term health. Same thing with the SURMOUNT trial, which looked at Mounjaro or tirzepatide, 34% muscle mass loss. So a little bit better muscle mass, you have reduced muscle mass loss with tirzepatide or Mounjaro, but still a lot of muscle mass was lost. So of course, to reduce these risks, you have to increase your protein intake, also increase your resistance training, meaning weightlifting and things like that. So now the good thing is that the researchers are aware of this now, and they're working on new drugs that can help reduce that muscle mass loss. But the bad news is that, if you're not aware, you could definitely, lose a lot of strength if you're taking these drugs inappropriately. Now, another side effect they're seeing with patients who are using these GLP-1s is that people are actually getting improved sex life. I know we talked about how people were noticing increased penis size. Now, that was kind of speculation. There was some people just, reporting, one-offs here and there. There was no study behind that. However, they are showing some new data saying that there's some sexual benefits from taking GLP-1, including increased libido, increased desire, some people are saying there's increased size in their gonads. They're also noticing as well. So, it'll be interesting to see how these truly affect, how these GLP drugs work. Now, we do know that the GLP drugs have a lot of cerebral effects as well. It's not just, just weight loss and appetite suppression. It also affects desire as well as behavior. And it's believed that there's also could be some increased production of gonadotropins, which are the hormones that stimulate growth of your testes. And there's also sex hormone binding globulin increase, which is important for, again, arousing, sexual organ functionality. It's actually being shown that there could be improving of sexual activity and reduction of erectile dysfunction, guys. So this is pretty big stuff. If you're someone who's had issues with erectile dysfunction, it's believed that there's some benefit potentially by using these GLP-1 drugs that is improving people's sexual function and helping people maintain and keep better erections. So obviously the erectile dysfunction industry is a massive industry. People they have made billions literally between the popular drugs like sildenafil, Viagra, and other drugs that are designed to help men with sexual health. I think that if people knew that these GLP-1 drugs are helping people with sexual disorders and helping people improve their sexual health, that that could be another reason why people will consider using these drugs as a adjunct to helping them with their sex life. Now, we do know that obesity is bad for sexual health. If you're obese, you can actually reduce your sexual function, make it harder for you to perform satisfactorily during intercourse. So I think that those who have obesity and are frustrated with their sexual life, this could be a big reason to consider losing weight, as well as, helping using these drugs to help you with that. So, I think that the use of these drugs to help treat some of the side effects is going to be one of the biggest boons of these GLP-1 drugs. If you can help someone improve their sex life, people will do a lot for that, including lose weight, including eating better, and so forth. And here's one study that looked at a year-long study of men with erectile dysfunction, showed that if they combined metformin, which is a common diabetic drug, or a GLP-1 drug, this one they used dulaglutide, they had significantly improved erectile function, and they also had improved vascular function as well, because it's all blood flow. That's kind of the big issue. And the doctors believe that it's due to the metabolic improvements, the normalized blood sugars, the normalized metabolic status that help their sexual organs function better. So yes, so important, guys. If you're someone who's obese, especially you're diabetic, dealing with sexual issues, erectile dysfunction, definitely tell your doctor, consider putting you on these GLP-1 drugs to help reduce and help that, so you can have better sexual intercourse, because I know that's what everyone wants, especially the men out here. So and lastly, GLP-1 receptor agonists, they've been shown to have a lower risk of infections in general, just across the board. It's pretty awesome, because people don't understand that if you're losing weight and you're having better metabolic function, your body's able to perform better, your immune system works better, and this allows you to fight off infections easier. So when I say infections, any infections, serious infections like sepsis, to like just simple upper respiratory infections, cellulitis of the skin, things like that, all infections were reduced. So it's pretty amazing. So what they did, looked at 164,000 people. So this is a massive study. They looked at data from 136 different studies. We call this a meta-analysis, where they look at different research articles and they put all the data together and draw conclusions. So they looked at over 136 studies, which involved over 164,000 people, average age 56 years of age. And they said 80% of these patients had type 2 diabetes. So we know type 2 diabetics are prone to having more infections. Diabetes weakens your immune system, which makes you more prone to infections and more serious infections. So diabetic patients are always informed to stay on top of any kind of illness or any kind of even skin rash, anything, because it can turn disastrous overnight. So again, diabetics are the highest risk patients for illness. And they found that those who were getting GLP-1s, and we know that GLP-1s were designed for diabetics, so that's actually, the first population is we're going to start seeing benefits here. And they found that those patients who were on these GLP-1 agonists were actually found to have much lower infections. And that's huge, because diabetics are some of the highest risk patients when it comes to infections. Can definitely have terrible outcomes. You can lose limbs from a simple skin cut. Very serious. So the fact that patients who are on these GLP-1s are now having decreased risk for severe infections, between skin infections, respiratory infections, vascular infections, all infections were down. Even COVID infections were down. So this just, I think, shows another huge benefit of GLP-1s. Decreased infection risk is huge, and one of the biggest reasons diabetics pass away. So I think this information will give more ammunition to those who are saying GLP-1s should be cheaper and widely available, especially for diabetics, just because of the huge benefits. Then we always talk about the reduced sexual dysfunction with GLP-1, so patients are getting better sex on GLP-1 agonists. So it's just a big deal, guys. These GLP-1s are doing a lot of great things. They're not perfect by any means, but there are definitely a lot of benefits here that I think we need to closely look at going forward. So yes, GLP-1. So that's all for today, guys. We've been going for a little bit here. Thanks for listening. We are so excited to bring you more content. We have a lot of stories on the horizon. Guys, please, if you're feeling ashy this winter, check out Dr. B's Body Butter at our store site, www.naturally.africa. Also, if you have any show ideas, you want to reach out, maybe want to be on the show, we do have a lot of patient special guests coming up in the future here. Reach out to our email, drbarryhealth@gmail.com. And of course, subscribe to the show, guys. Health and Wellness Connection is available on all platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, all the places you stream music. Subscribe to the show, Apple Music as well, of course, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the show, get it delivered directly to your device of your choice. And let's keep the good vibes flowing, guys. I'm your host, Dr. B. Thanks for listening. We will be definitely bringing you more heat, so stay tuned. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Health and Wellness Connection podcast and radio show. For more information on ways to get healthy, please check us out. www.anchor.fm/HW Connection. Here you can re-listen to the show, check out older shows, and even further support the show by becoming a subscriber to the podcast. Please check us out today. Again, that's anchor.fm/HW Connection. And also, don't forget to follow Dr. Barry on Instagram at drbarrymd. Until next time, stay healthy.